everybody.
Sean and Kelly here, Price and Price Group of eXp Realty.
What are we talking about, Sean?
You want to know?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. We are talking about the burning concerns that buyers have in this market.
Oh, that burns. Is there an ointment for that?
That's great. Okay, we are going to dive into, here's how this came about. We got an email from a customer who is not a client of ours, but he is someone who...
We're going to get him one day.
That's right. We have regular communication with this gentleman, and
he always asks really in-depth and brilliant questions.
Comes up with brilliant
summarizes the questions we get all the time.
Yes. So he, in the body of an email that he gave us, there was a paragraph that he was sharing a story, an experience that he had, and he was asking questions about that experience. And as I was reading through this, I was like, you just hit on all of these concerns that many of our buyers have. So
all the time.
We're going to go through his paragraph. He's given us permission. We're going to go through it word by word, item by item. We're going to give our opinions on it and share with you just basically our feedback and our response.
And it's really navigating, keep in mind it's for our market here, Northern Virginia market. What we're saying is probably could very well not be the case, and how to navigate your market, but it is certainly how to navigate ours.
That's right. Okay, so let's dive into this. First of all, thank you, Mr. M. We will call him Mr. M for contributing this information and for all that you contribute to our videos.
Yeah, you're amazing. And we will be able to use this. So when we get the questions, we can take this video and send it and say, hey, hopefully this answers that question in great detail. And if you have more, then...
Yeah. And with that said, as you're watching this video, if you have questions or you have concerns or you have opinions about the market, feel free to share it with us in the comments, email us, and we will use that to shoot for future videos.
If you have a question, a lot of other people have the same question, put it to us and let us get it out there.
Yep. Okay. All right, so let's dive into this. Ready? All right, so Kelly is reading one of my beautiful PowerPoints that will not be on the screen.
Right. Okay, so we're going to start off with, here's what he says. After losing out on a townhouse 2 weeks ago, my mind is like, first mistake, you didn't use us. Okay. Let's just get that out of the way. Shame. My mind has been focused on the no inspection contingency in a proffered contract that has become the near uniform practice in today's market, something I would never do regardless of the market conditions. It would be great if you could shoot a video on that subject. I suspect you have some real horror stories. No, in fact, we do.
And here we are.
So shall I pause there, or do you want me to continue with the paragraph?
Go ahead and continue. Okay. It's all about the inspection.
Okay. I don't understand why any seller would not be receptive to having an interested potential buyer arrange for a roofer, an HVAC company, a plumber, an electrician, etc. Look at the house as part of the buyer's due diligence process, particularly if the house has been unoccupied and neglected for any significant length of time.
Okay.
Absolutely fair.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally reasonable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Am I pausing there?
Yeah, we're pausing here. Yep.
Okay.
So, first of all, this is a house. When you're purchasing a home, whether it's a $300,000 condo or a $3 million single-family home, it's a big investment. So these are very reasonable concerns and very reasonable due diligence processes that should happen in a transaction.
Yeah, ideally should. And I think even sellers recognize that, you know, for the most part, they want to give buyers a really great product, right?
For the most part, yeah.
They want to, like, people really are not into swindling other people as much as the fear is out there.
Yeah.
The problem comes in
this market.
Yeah. Right? So go. I can hear you wanting to interrupt
I got
me,
ready.
so
I'm ready.
Go for it.
So in this market, if you have 2 offers or 3 offers on the table and say that all other factors are virtually even, if a buyer has an inspection contingency, that inspection contingency allows that buyer to pretty much cancel the contract for any reason within the frame of the time frame of that contingency. And for a seller, when they are in a hot market and they take their property off the market, there's a risk there. So if a seller has a risk of taking the property off the market and they're willing to do an inspection, for example, we just had a property that went under contract and the seller was actually I could feel it. He didn't put these words to it, but I could feel that he wanted an inspector to come in that house because he had done all the work himself.
Yeah.
And he's like, I challenge you to find something wrong with this house,
Yeah,
right? He was
you
crying.
almost want the affirmation,
Yes.
right? That
Yeah.
that like, wow, this is a beaut, you know?
Yeah. But when it came down to it and the offers come in, the offer with no inspection is an offer where the buyer does not have the right to void. And go ahead.
Finish your sentence. I want to paint the picture. I'm really good at that.
So in a situation where it is very uncommon for a buyer in a settlement process to not get cold feet. They're going in, they're like, oh my gosh, we've got this property, now they have, and if there's an out with an inspection contingency, buyers sometimes do get cold feet and buyers will void based on that.
Yes. And so this is where I think it's very important to paint the picture, because our friend here has a perfect expectation of why wouldn't a seller want to do this, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what we're going to answer. The seller's picture is this. In this market, they have decided, yes, I'm ready to sell my house and all the things that go along with it, right? Their family life, the whatever, the moving and all of these things that are like, when you decide, that's step 1 to 100-step process, you know, with a lot of factors involved.
Yeah, and each step depends on the previous step.
Right. In this market, this seller is going to have all of these like multiple offers thrown at them, right? I mean, at least 3 usually is what we're seeing. It goes over 12 oftentimes lately, and it's happening fast. We have offered deadlines for people that the houses,
which we're going to get into in the
houses don't make it, you know, very long. So when they're presented with this in this climate, they have to make these decisions really, really quickly. Some of these offers are presented with deadlines of their own, like, hey, accept my offer within 24 hours. So then they're like, oh my gosh, I've got to hurry up. And this is why the offer deadlines happen a lot of times, is it's like, I've got to compare all of these really, really quickly, or some buyers are going to pull out. So the sellers themselves are like, I don't have time to allow all these very, very reasonable things. I don't have time to allow that. Also, let's really pay attention to this. Okay.
When they don't have to.
When they don't have to. And here's why, another reason why they wouldn't want to. In this market, when we have a property that has sat through 2 weekends of open houses, that is a huge red flag for all the buyers out there. Something is wrong with that property, right? So what you were saying, in a buyer submitting an offer and someone's like, yeah, I love the whole home inspection. I totally get that. Sure, let's give it to him because I'm not worried about the home inspection. That buyer, what happens in this market is that buyer has sometimes put really amazing offers on multiple properties. Fishing, casting a wide net to see which one they get, and then they void on home inspection because, oh wow, I actually got the one I wanted more than this. So now that seller has this property that it's like, well shoot, now I'm past my second week, and everybody's wondering what's wrong with my property. It's like it's like a scarlet letter for a listing.
Or even if the days on market may not continue, like let's say it's a quick inspection, even a 2-day inspection. The property goes off the market and then back on the market. So every buyer that walks through that house then asks the question, what happened? And in the back of their minds, they're thinking they failed based on inspection. There's something wrong with the property.
Yes, and a lot of times in the listing, once something is under contract, it says, what are the contingencies? If the contingency is a home inspection and now it's back on market, they don't want it. It's like, oh my gosh, something went wrong. And automatically their minds go to worst case scenario. Like it's a foundation issue, or it needs a new roof, you know?
When it could just be like nothing. It could be they got cold feet. It could be they have multiple offers like you said. It could be,
that's the picture for the seller is they don't have to in this market. It works against them in this market. That's why.
And so taking that same concept and going into the next paragraph, go ahead. She's our official reader.
I similarly don't understand why a seller would have a cutoff date for contracts to be submitted that is just a matter of days after the property is first put on the market. If, with respect to the townhouse my wife and I were interested in, I had been allowed 7 to 10 days to get professional contractors in to provide their assessment, I was prepared to offer $100,000 more than what would have turned out to be the offer price in the ratified contract. I was not insisting upon a home inspection to walk away, but simply to get a meaningful estimate of what I would be required to pay for repairs and renovations.
Okay.
Another very, very fair and logical point and expectation
Yep.
in a normal market.
And so this goes to the point that you said, in this market, when a property hits day 14 of being on the market, it is considered, it starts getting stale, it's considered either overpriced or there's something wrong, and it starts attracting lowball offers. In a normal real estate market, 30 days, 60 days, you can still expect to get close to asking price, negotiations, and all these things. But in this market, if it makes it through the first weekend, that's where things start happening. So sellers know that those strongest offers are going to come in that first weekend because that's when they're competing. So a seller is not apt to allow. So the 7 to 10 days, and it's not clear in this email, did the gentleman mean before going under contract, like letting them have the due diligence before writing the contract, or did he mean 7 to 10 day inspection contingency?
And either way,
that's
that's too long in this market.
Yeah,
Either way.
because with a seller, if that property sits off the market for 10 days, that buyer could be out looking at other properties. They could be, and there's a saying in real estate. Actually, I'm not going to say it, but we'll just say that.
I was like, which one?
We'll just say that buyers do play games, especially in the desperation of this market. Buyers do play games, and
Not you, who's watching.
no, yeah, not at all. But
And if you do, shame.
and I'll give you an example.
And some agents let buyers play games.
Yeah, they do. I'll give you a conversation that I had with an agent just yesterday. So this agent was talking to me about a property that he had listed. We were talking about the condo docs and how important it is to have those condo docs the day that a property ratifies so you can deliver it, because the buyer has 3 days to review those and can void in that 3 days. And he and I were talking about it, and we're like, it's always surprising when a listing agent doesn't have the condo docs ready. Because what happens is whenever those docs are delivered, the buyer has 3 days. Well, this agent was telling me that in his first house that he ever bought before he got in real estate, he voided his contract 3 days before settlement based on condo docs because he got cold feet. And he said, based on that, I never trust a buyer to not get cold feet.
He's like, I won't even like start the active date until condo docs are in.
That's right.
Because as soon as it goes under contract, I'm sending these, your 3 days is up.
That's right.
You know?
And so for 7 to 10 days on this, from a seller's perspective, that's a lot of time to sit off the market and potentially miss.
Cold feet is a real thing, right? That's not a planned, a calculated, crappy, shady dealings. Cold feet, I mean, that really, really happens to people.
So that's the reason behind these. Now, the other thing that he brought up here was the offer deadline. The offer deadline is important because what ends up happening is they collect the offers. We personally go back and forth on how the best way is. We like to present offers as a receipt.
I don't go back and forth. I have very strong and firm and hard and fast rules on offer deadlines. And I'm just going to share it right now.
Okay.
I do not like offer deadlines unless our sellers have agreed that they will abide by them.
And totally honor it, yeah.
Do not, if you haven't noticed, I don't like shadiness. If I'm talking to an agent, I want to be able to say we are presenting offers as received, and they are willing to ratify a great offer immediately. They're not going to wait. They're not going to shop it around or anything like that. If our sellers say, no, I want to do an offer deadline, then adhere to it. If you're going to get 3 offers in by the offer deadline, and we've got, which always happens in this market, we have agents circling around, can you extend it to tomorrow morning? Then they want to extend it. Well, that shoots all the truthful, honest, and fair dealings that in communication that we had with the previous offers completely out the window. And there goes everything.
It's unfair to the previous offers.
It's unfair. It's unfair, and then people they can't trust anything anyone says, and it's just this snowball of bullshit.
So with that being said, I mean, so the point of the offer deadlines is for this reason, and if now there might be a situation.
I grew up on a farm, so that's not a swear word.
It's real.
It's real stuff.
In a situation like this, a buyer or a seller may end up leaving money on the table, but I think that's probably an exception to the rule. Usually those contracts, you get the highest sales price in that first few days, and that's the reason for the offer deadlines. Now, Kelly made a reference to a trunk that we got at an estate sale last week, and I thought this was a beautiful reference. I want to use that again right now. in this market, we walked into this estate sale, chaos everywhere. It's like the market right now, chaos everywhere. This
It's
beautiful
like in
trunk.
Philadelphia.
Yes, this beautiful trunk was sitting right by the entrance.
Okay, this is what. Let me we gotta paint
Oh, she's
a
gonna
really
get-
really
she's
good
gonna get
picture.
wordy.
Okay, no,
This is a Stephen King description. I can feel it coming.
I'm just saying this was such an estate sale. It opened at 10. My sister and Sean and I were so excited. I'm like, we're gonna get here at 10:30. This is gonna be fantastic. Cars are lined up down the road. People are walking out with all kinds of stuff saying, oh, good luck finding anything. And they meant it. It was shoulder to shoulder. It was insane. Lines going through all parts of the property, like with ringing stuff up. I mean, nothing was left. It was really, really crazy. Not only that, but there were things that were so overpriced. I mean, I don't really know great pricing for everything, but there were some things that I'm like, this rug is probably from Home Goods, and they were charging $1,000 for it, and it was sold. So everything. Then as we're leaving this place, like,
So
okay,
this is-
we started just
This
looking
is
at the
right by
property.
the entrance at the front door, the line to pay. So there's hundreds of people in
Yeah.
this line paying right by this trunk, and nobody's seeing it. Nobody is picking this thing up. And we,
My sister and I go over there, and I'm looking at it. And she's looking at it. She goes, these remind me, remember all of Grandma's trunks? And I'm like, yeah, I remember Grandma's trunks. And she's got this, my sister has this impeccable place in Fairmount in Philly. And I'm like, oh, this would look so good in her place. I'm not even going to think about it. I'm not even going to think about it because she wants it. And then she's like, I wouldn't have a place for it. I'm like, are you sure? Are you positive? And I'm like, I want it. Yes, I'm going to take it. $195, right? And I'm ready. I'm getting the Venmo app and I'm getting ready. It's gorgeous. My sister is Googling it, right? Because it's got the Mendel, whatever, label on it. It has these old shipping labels from being in Dublin and here, all these places, right?
this is so wordy.
This trunk, you find these for like thousands of dollars online, and I'm paying $195 for it, right? And not only that, but
Okay,
not
so-
only that, but it doesn't have the keys and it's still locked, so there might be super
There
treasures.
might be
in it.
treasures in
Or
it.
there's like Jeremy blankets and
Okay.
stuff. But
Okay. That's a great story.
I'm sorry, it's all of that matters, right? All of it matters. Why? Somewhere. No.
Because there were so many people there, and this little trunk was a hidden treasure. She found it. She was able to get it without having to overpay and fight for people. As soon as she found it, other people started coming to her. It's a beautiful trunk.
Yeah,
and blah,
we're
blah, blah.
yeah.
So, so the point on this is there are properties where you can find that situation, but it's an exception to the rule. Usually those properties have been on the market for 14, 30 days, something like that. That's where you can get all these things in there.
Usually the reason they've been on the market that long is the sellers had this mindset of, it's fair. The buyers should get a home inspection. The buyers should get that. And it's burned them. It's come back to bite them. And they allowed these inspections and now it's back, but it has a stigma. People are afraid of it. And so it's a beautiful, lonely little trunk sitting in the corner, just waiting for its perfect family to come and find it and give it all the love and gloriousness, and it's just a perfect man to be.
Or the property is overpriced for its condition and it is sat there and they're getting desperate and they're willing to let people have these things. Okay, so
I'm
that's
so glad I don't watch these back. I'm gonna wonder why you've been married to me for so long.
okay. So that's the story on the offer deadline.
so sorry.
That's great. Somebody's gonna be jealous of that trunk. I can feel it. All right.
That trunk.
So okay, and this goes into the last part of this paragraph. So
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about the trunk. Whew. In any event, says this customer, in this market, it is hard for me to imagine that the next highest bidder would not have gladly opted to go forward if that bidder learned that the offeree with the higher bid bowed out. See, I think he and I would have great conversations. Say, because the repairs would be above, say, $300,000 just to make the property habitable. The other bidder would not know who I was or why I walked away.
Okay, and that's a very factual statement.
Yes.
But this is the exact thing that Kelly has been talking about. We have situations where when we get a multiple offer situation, we will usually tie up a backup offer.
Oh, yes.
The question that comes into play is if that person voids, the backup offer is immediately wondering, oh God, why? What did I get
What
into?
happened?
And if they have contingencies, then they have a fear and they can get out. So granted, in this situation,
Yeah.
the backup offer would not know what happened, would not know why. They would start asking questions, they would start raising questions, and the seller is now at a disadvantage. And this is not an unreasonable thing in that situation. If it's over $300,000 and it doesn't work for the buyer has the right to walk. But the seller doesn't have to take those risks in this market. And that's the
Right.
key to it. It's in this market. So in a situation like this, maybe it's not the right market to purchase.
Oh, right.
You
For
know?
when these things are just hard and fast, you must have these things. You just wait for your trunk.
Yeah. Or you find off-market properties. So when we're
Yeah.
working with our buyers
Yeah.
and they're constantly losing properties, I'm on the phone trying to find off-market deals or deals that we can get before they hit the market. And
Yeah.
that's how we get a lot of our buyers under contract, because it's a trunk that nobody sees
Yeah.
and you get it quickly.
That's
So,
very true.
yeah.
And keep in mind, as we mentioned in some videos ago, what fiduciary is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the real estate agents who represent the sellers, they have a fiduciary obligation to the sellers to get them the highest, the best, everything they want wrapped up in the most perfect package they possibly can.
Yep.
That in this market is
Quick
a
offer,
quick settlement,
closing.
highest dollar, fewest contingencies, and all of that. I mean, that's what we look for our sellers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's just how it is. But
Yeah.
these are amazing questions.
Yeah.
These are
And I felt like when I read this, I felt like it was the fears and the thoughts and honestly, the anger that almost every buyer feels in this market. It's like, why can't this happen? And that is absolutely true, because these are very reasonable situations.
very true. And I'm going to be very honest. So I'm kind of a frugal shopper. Like, I like the nice stuff, but I want to get a deal, right? I'm a haggler. I love it. If you don't haggle with me, then I don't know, it does something to me on the
I
inside.
feel like you have a dog.
Yeah, but this house that we have is our second house that we actually rented first. And for us, that's beautiful because I get to live in it, learn the bones. I bring my dad in, tell him about the age of it. My dad was in construction. He built shopping centers and everything. And so we kind of have the time to do all of this stuff and
Yeah.
live in it. I mean, how's that for a home inspection?
Yeah.
So then when we are able to negotiate the contract, it's like, we don't need that. We don't need this.
And we're able to do it off market.
So I'm just
Yeah.
saying that I really sympathize with people not getting these home inspections in this market. I really do. It'd be really tough for me too.
And the up in the earlier part of the paragraph, the gentleman that wrote this had mentioned, do we have real horror stories? And the truth of the matter is, I can't really think of any horror stories where a buyer has bought and been hit with anything. Now we have
No.
one where the HVAC had been kicking out carbon monoxide, but this buyer went in knowing that they knew that HVAC needed to be replaced, and they actually got an inspection.
Oh,
on
I
that
was going
property.
to say horror stories about the devastating losses of not getting homes and people
Yes.
having
Oh,
to
yes.
move away.
And
No,
people have
but
paid
you're
more and more and more.
you're
because of
right.
that.
We
Yeah.
haven't had the horror stories outside of that one.
Yeah. But he had an inspection and he knew what was coming. It was just a void only inspection.
It was a void only, and and the little things for the not roofs and not foundation stuff. Home warranties are really
Yeah.
great. I mean, for our clients,
Yeah.
as closing gifts, oftentimes we buy them a home warranty. Home warranty companies are typically, but they save you thousands
They
of
do.
dollars. We've had to use one to replace our range and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
even
So
after living in the house. But that's
Yeah.
a good point. So there are solutions for these things, like getting the inspection. You can do a pre-offer full inspection.
not every seller
assuming the seller allows
that.
it.
A lot of them do though.
So you can do that. You can do the home warranty to protect yourself. So there are things that can be done. You
Yeah,
can
and
do
why a
walk and
pre-offer
talk.
inspection? What does the pre-offer or a walk-and-talk inspection mean? It means nothing changes on the MLS. The front-facing property, it's still listed for sale. Everybody can come and see it. Everybody can make offers. It's just that they're allowing people to come and do an inspection, kind of like they set up time like they would for a showing. They set up time and an inspector comes in and does that inspection the negatives to that is that you're paying for the home inspection on a
Before-
property that you may not even end up offering
Yeah.
on. So it could cost you $400 or $500
Yeah.
depending on the size of the property. And then
Yeah.
what's a walk and talk? Explain
So a
that.
walk and talk is when the seller is not allowing inspections. So sometimes a seller will not allow it because they don't want to block that much time on the
Right.
schedule because there's so much demand. You can come in during your showing with your contractor or with your inspector, and you walk through the house, and as you're walking and talking, he's looking and he's checking for major issues.
And that would have been, sir, if we were your agents, exactly what I would have suggested for you with your intention of just wanting to know how much you need to spend
Yep.
in renovations is let's do a walk-in talk.
your
Bring your
contractor,
own
yep.
person, or we have people that like, come on, we could do this. And sweet wife would have had this property.
So he's in a situation where that probably wouldn't have worked. But
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Never mind. No,
All right.
I rescind my sass.
Okay. So do you have anything else on this? I feel like it's a pretty.
Do we want to talk about my trunk anymore?
No.
Like,
We talked about the truck. All right.
anybody know of any good estate sales?
Yeah.
Hit me up. I love it.
So if anybody has any questions or they have any concerns about the market in general that they would like us to answer, we'd be happy to do this on a regular basis.
And I'd be
really
happy to let me drone on and on.
And we will not talk about her trunk ever again.
What?
We'll talk about it every time. Okay. Anyway, so thank you.
Thank you.
We're good.
Like,
Yeah.
really, thank
Yeah,
you.
really, we appreciate all your feedback. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Always.
Okay.